In the decisive vote, Labour were divided. Heath was confident, having maintained secret contacts with Labour's pro-marketeers. The Tory rebels' puny efforts were wiped out by a mass Labour defection of 69 MPs, led by Roy Jenkins. He faced such rage from Labour anti-marketeers that his friends advised him to leave the building as quickly as possible.
Whatever the strength of their pro-European community feelings, which I could respect, I couldn't understand why they had so substantially let the Heath government off the hook.
The legislation passed. Britain had ceased to be an independent country. Nobody knew then that the battle was far from over. Tony Benn felt his cause had been steamrollered by a ruthless political machine.
You argue your case, and then there's a vote in the House of Commons, and I felt it was a betrayal of the rights of the people I represented in Parliament. That's what I felt.
On the 22nd of January 1972, Heath went to Brussels to sign the treaty, whose real significance he had kept from the British people.
We have all come to recognize our common European heritage, our mutual interests, and our European destiny. Is to all who have labored...
I thought that it was possible that we could create a powerful, united European state that would be democratic and effective. Ted Heath was trying to move Britain into a more entrepreneurial society.
A beginning of another stage in the construction of a new and a greater united Europe.
Many took Heath's predictions at face value. But now it is possible to see evidence that Heath concealed the market's ultimate destination from the public. Back then, Europe's leaders were already making plans to merge all the economies and currencies of the common market countries. Here, from the 9th of November 1970, is a document prepared by two Treasury officials on the revolutionary implications of economic and monetary union. It should be noted at the outset that the plan for economic and monetary union has revolutionary long-term implications, both economic and political. It could imply the ultimate creation of a European federal state with a single currency. All the basic instruments of national economic management would ultimately be handed over to the central federal authorities. The document actually makes it clear that Britain under economic and monetary union could end up being less independent than any of the 50 states of the USA. That's something that nobody has admitted in public ever since, but it sits here in the National Archive waiting for anybody who cares to read it to discover. The public were called on to celebrate, but they had no idea what they were supposed to be rejoicing about.
A few weeks ago, the government wrote to every parish council in the land, suggesting they do something, however modest, to mark British entry into Europe. Ivy Bridge, almost alone, rose defiantly to the challenge on a budget of £50 voted by the parish council.
We're in a common market, now we've joined the eating. You will see fantastic changes in our community as you walk along the Fore Street, as you go up Langham Way.
Not everyone was so impressed. Heath was so anxious to join at all costs that he accepted the Common Fisheries Policy, which opened our fishing grounds to other market members. It would effectively destroy our fishing industry. In Ivy Bridge, even amidst the celebrations, there were sceptics.
I'll be quite honest. Honestly, I don't think we've got anything to celebrate over it. That's my opinion.
Isn't it a fact that the great debate that we were supposed to have a year ago was really a big sham?
Yes.
And a great debate wasn't held in public and people weren't informed.
Is there any one thing that you're actually looking forward to of joining the community?
I can't see any myself.
For many, the early impact of market membership was obscured by other events. Inflation, strikes, and the energy crisis caused by the 1973 Arab-Israeli War.
Come on, let's work together.
We are limiting the use of electricity by almost all factories, shops and offices to 3 days a week.
Heath thought the 1974 miners' strike was a chance to link Labour with the chaos. It might allow him to win a snap election. He asked, "Who governs Britain?" which took some nerve given that he had just transferred much governing authority to Brussels. But his opponent, Harold Wilson, pledged a referendum on Europe, mainly to cover up splits in his own party.
I do believe the British people, in view of all that's happened, must have the last final word through the ballot box in a referendum.
Enoch Powell, placing country above party, responded by urging his supporters to vote Labour.
So the elector, let us admit, Judas was paid. Judas was paid. I am making a sacrifice.
Powell's shocking intervention helped to tip the balance. Labour won a narrow election victory. Britain's first ever referendum would be held, and the people would at last have their say.
We've got a job to do. We can only do that job as one people, and I'm going right in to start that job now.
From the start of the referendum campaign, it wasn't a fair fight. Though the polls showed a majority for quitting, millions were open to persuasion.
I'd like to know a bit more before I voted. What sort of things do you want to know? Well, what it stands for and everything.
Nobody's been told properly in the papers or on the news exactly what is going on.
Nobody knows enough about the common market to vote.
Thank you very much.
Mrs Thatcher, surprise choice to succeed Heath as Tory opposition leader, was a prominent and committed voice in the cross-party Yes campaign.
Mrs Thatcher was passionately in favour. I wrote to her during the referendum and said, if people vote no, will you accept it? Certainly not, she said.
We want a jumper parade. Come on, we want a jumper parade.
You keep telling me yes.
They're tall, the girls. They're all tall.
Please, I'm trying to work. Would you mind going away? Just stop it, will you please? Let me through.
Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country by getting Britain out of the common market.
The No campaign suffered badly from its lack of any serious establishment support.
We've been in the common market now for 2.5 years, and what have we seen? We've seen nothing. Rising prices, nothing. Rising unemployment. Waste of money.
The argument wasn't going to be about membership of the common market. I think that the argument was going to be about these crazy people. Do you really want them to be running the show?
No to the common market and no to Powell as well. Read a socialist newspaper, read the Red Weekly.
And the sceptics were stuck with the unwanted support of the ultra-right and the far left.
You find our capacity to sell our goods abroad threatened by more powerful continental manufacturers who have been able to get investment in their plant, denied to British workers in this country.
We had no money. We had to fork up cash to pay for the hotel where we had a press conference. The other side had masses and masses of money.
Britain and Europe, good afternoon.
The pro-camp were backed by the European Commission and by millionaire businessmen. Their slick media campaign was planned over secret breakfasts at one of London's most opulent hotels.